Hey, how's it going, everyone? Just back again with another of the sequence of the end times in Matthew 22. So this one spans a few chapters, but it's incredible. I think it'll give people a new perspective on verses that we've probably read and heard, but understand that a lot of what Jesus says is prophetic, and it's incredible to see that now and, everywhere, that he's speaking. It's absolutely incredible. So Matthew 22, 44, 22, 44, 66. Okay, so there's double meaning here. So 44 references God's elect, and then 22 plus 44 is when this is going to happen in the end times. Okay, so Matthew 22, 44, the Lord said to my Lord, sit at my right hand until I put your enemies under your feet. I want people to know this is double meaning. Okay, so it's what he's saying, that certain people will be above their enemies, but it's literal. When Christ takes away his elect, again, this is in verse 44, they're going to return with him, and then their enemies are going to be beneath their feet, destroying people in these so-called UFOs. Okay, so just know that. And so this is what we know now, that there's double meaning behind everything that Christ is saying, at least double meaning. So that's right there, our first reference to salvation. So Christ will take away his elect, and then they'll be at a place until he puts their enemies underneath their feet, to clean up the earth with everybody with the mark of the beast. If then David calls him Lord, how is he his son? And no one was able to answer him a word, nor from that day did anyone else dare to ask him more questions. And so you can't confound Christ. Okay, like it's absolutely silly to even think that people would try that. But God's left-hand side, we have to remember, are stupid. Okay, they're retarded. And so so first and foremost, we have a reference to God's elect being taken away and then being preserved until their enemies are going to be beneath their feet in these so-called UFOs. Okay, so now we would expect a time of wrath, and then if you read Revelation 15 and 16, there are 7 plagues which describe God's wrath. And so if you read Matthew 23, Christ goes into the 7 woes to the scribes and Pharisees. And so this is, again, consistent language, to the end times, where in the end times there are 7 plagues, but here you have 7 woes. And so I won't read all of them, but just know, that he's listing 7 woes, and then that's to parallel the 7 plagues in the end times. And then I thought it was interesting that the first woe, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you shut the kingdom of heaven in people's faces. So it's talking about like skin and people's body. And then that's the first plague in Revelation 16, are sores. And then if you read the second woe, for you travel across sea and land. And so it makes a reference to the sea, which God is going to harm the wildlife, in the water and kill it, which will be the starting of the famine. And so I just thought that was interesting. The first 2 woes have parallels to the first 2 plagues, in Revelation 16. So I'm not going to read all these, but again, there are 7 woes. And then after that, we should have another reference to Christ returning. And not a big shocker, we do. Matthew 23:37, O Jerusalem, Jerusalem, the city that kills the prophets and stones those who are sent to it. How often would I have gathered your children together as hens together her brood under her wings, and you were not willing. See, your house is left to you desolate. For I tell you, you will not see me again until you say, blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. That's the lament over Jerusalem. So that's a reference to the Middle East, where Christ will return with his elect for this battle in Armageddon. And then, like he says here, for I tell you, you will not see me again until you say, blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. And so this is Christ returning in the Middle East with his elect. And so, because they're taken away, and then now their enemies are going to be beneath their feet. So after that, we should have a reference to, in this one, it doesn't actually go into the kingdom, because then it goes into Matthew 24, which is like the signs of the end of the age. But it has a reference here to destruction. So Matthew 24:1, Jesus left the temple and was going away. When his disciples came to point out to the buildings of the temple, but he answered them, you see all of these, do you not? Truly I say to you, there will not be left here one stone upon another that will not be thrown down. And so he's describing destruction when he returns with his elect in Matthew 24:1. And then the rest of Matthew 24 is like a very, very famous chapter, obviously, with the end times. And so that goes in through the sequence again. And so it's literally like a reel, it's just literally like the end times over and over and over again, if you read the Gospels with new eyes, like I have, in the last little while. And so Matthew, beginning in 22:44 all the way to 24:1, describes the sequence of the end times again. It's amazing. Hope everyone's doing well. Bye.